Thomas Tuchel desperate to take the Manchester United job, Erik ten Hag put on trial until the end of the season, and Rasmus Hojlund complains to the club about the lack of service he's received this season. These are some of the stories we will be discussing on the show this morning. But before we jump into that, please smash a like on today's video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get straight on into it. So as always here on Daily Red Devil, I like to start the shows off with some positivity. And I've got 2 bits of positivity for you today, which is very nice considering how bad this season has been. And the first one is that Jason Wilcox, our new technical director, has officially started work at Carrington. He started yesterday. That was his first day, obviously replacing Darren Fletcher. Apparently, he's going to be monitoring Erik ten Hag's training sessions. He's going to be identifying targets for the summer. He's got a very, very busy few weeks ahead of him, this guy, because obviously we know that Dan Ashworth's not here yet. We know that Omar Barada's not here yet. So the only person of this new senior management team is Jason Wilcox. Obviously, we took him from Southampton. He was their director of football, joined Manchester United, obviously previously was at Man City before Southampton. And I'm really, really excited about it. You know, we paid Southampton some compensation and now he's available to start. So he has started. That is a massive positive. And Erik ten Hag is going to be watched very, very closely. Training sessions, recovery, everything. He's going to be monitoring it all, reporting back to Ineos, and they're going to be formulating a report. So that's really, really good. And the next story, the positive story for you before we move on to the general news, is about Lisandro Martinez. So Martinez put out an Instagram post last night. He was at the game on the weekend, the FA Cup semi-final. Obviously, he wasn't playing, as we all know, but he was on the sidelines supporting the team. And he put up a picture on his Instagram late last night of him at the ground, and it says soon, i.e. implying that he's going to be back very, very soon. So I hope we have him back for the FA Cup final. I hope that by the time the FA Cup final comes around, we've got a pretty much full strength squad. We might even have Luke Shaw back potentially. You know, it could be Luke Shaw, Martinez, Varane, and Dalot as our back four. That I think we've only played that combination once this season, and that combination was what got us all of the success last year. So really, really happy for Martinez. He's probably one of, if not my favourite players at Man United. So really, really happy that he's going to be back. Massive, massive positive story this morning. Moving over to some more general Manchester United related news. There was a story floating around last night on Twitter that apparently Dan Ashworth and Newcastle and Man United had agreed a £12 million compensation deal. This is apparently not correct. So Man United is still negotiating with Newcastle over the pay they'll have to give them in order to let Dan Ashworth start at United immediately. So there was false reports coming out yesterday saying that a £12 million compensation package had been agreed, but this is apparently incorrect. So we're still waiting to find out when Dan Ashworth will be able to start. But from what I've been hearing, Newcastle are currently waiting until they find their new sporting director. As soon as they have their new sporting director, they will then allow Manchester United to, they'll allow Dan Ashworth to start his work at Manchester United. So it's probably going to be a little while. I think the story I read yesterday said that they're currently interviewing for the new sporting director at Newcastle. I imagine we'll probably have him in time for maybe June, but we will have to pay a compensation package to Newcastle United. Probably somewhere around 10 million, which seems crazy, but it is what it is, isn't it? There's not really anything we can do. That's just the way that football's gone these days. You know, people are paying for managers now. People are paying for doctors. They're paying for head of recruitments. Staff are like players now. People buy them out of their clubs. It's crazy. It's absolutely mad, isn't it? But that's just how football's gone. And either you go along with it or you don't. You know, there's not an option. You can't say we're not paying, and they just will simply say, all right, then, well, you can't have him. So, yeah, I mean, it's the same with De Zerbi for all of those people who wanted De Zerbi and over the season. Like, if we want to get De Zerbi from Brighton, we've got to pay them £12 million, which is crazy. You know, we saw that with Chelsea and Graham Potter. I think Chelsea paid Brighton, I think maybe £20 million to get Potter, and they sacked him after 6 months. So we've got to be very careful with these types of things. You know, you've got to make sure that it's 100% the right appointment if you're having to give the other club loads of money to bring them in. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth on another show. Let's move over to Thomas Tuchel. And the headline this morning is that apparently Thomas Tuchel has agreed with his agents that he will take the Manchester United position if it becomes vacant this summer. It says there is still a lot of work to be done, but some of the new management at Ineos are in favour of Thomas Tuchel arriving at the club this summer. So we know that Bayern Munich have effectively sacked Thomas Tuchel. He will be leaving at the end of the season. This has been confirmed. The front runners to take the job at Bayern will surprise you, I think. Ralf Rangnick is one, which, I mean, Ralf Rangnick was, in my opinion, I think he was the breath of fresh air we needed. Yes, it didn't work. Yes, the players threw him under the bus at Manchester United, but they throw every manager under the bus. So it's hardly really surprising, is it, that that Thomas Tuchel, not Thomas Tuchel, that Ralf Rangnick is being linked to Bayern Munich, because he is a decent manager and he has good tactics and all the rest of it. The number one target at the moment is apparently De Zerbi, which is really, really interesting. De Zerbi, Unai Emery and Ralf Rangnick. Those are the three top targets for Bayern Munich. So obviously Nagelsmann's not going there. And Thomas Tuchel will be available as a free agent. So I'll keep you updated on that one. I don't personally think Thomas Tuchel is much of an improvement on Erik ten Hag, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Right, let's talk a little bit about the Rasmus Hojlund story. So there's a big article that came out this morning saying this. It says, earlier this season, Erik ten Hag and his coaching staff were presented with a tricky situation within the squad where Rasmus Hojlund complained that Bruno Fernandes wasn't passing the ball to him. It goes on to say that Hojlund also fell out with Diogo Dalot during United's 4-3 Champions League defeat to Copenhagen, and Fernandes sided with Dalot. So, I mean, I feel bad for Hojlund. Like, he doesn't get any service, but I could have told you that in the summer. I could have told you he wouldn't get any service. So, I don't want to say what did he really expect, but if you're Rasmus Hojlund, you're a Manchester United fan, which he is, you watch all the games, you see the greatest goal scorer of all time, Cristiano Ronaldo, getting no service. Why does he suddenly think at the age of 20 he's going to come to Manchester United, and all of these players who didn't pass the ball to the greatest goal scorer of all time, Cristiano Ronaldo, are suddenly going to change their play style to pass to him? And I think, if anything, it's something that needs to be addressed massively, but I'm not really surprised, if that makes sense. I'm not saying it makes it okay, but I'm not surprised, because we know what this team are like. They don't cross the ball, they don't pass the ball, they shoot from the edge of the box. Antony gets the ball, cuts in and shoots. Rashford runs at defences and loses the ball. Bruno tries the Hollywood pass every single game, and those are our attacking players. That happens every single match. Every single time Rashford gets the ball, he runs at somebody, he loses it, or he shoots. Antony, every time he gets the ball, he cuts in, he shoots, he misses. Bruno, every time he gets the ball, he tries to play a ridiculous pass that probably only comes off 1 in 10 times. And that's how we play. We're not playing like a Man City where we pass the ball into the goal and the strikers are getting, 3 or 4 really good opportunities a game. Rasmus Hojlund will be lucky to get 1 opportunity a game. And when you're operating like that, you can see why he's not got that many goals, because you look at other teams like Aston Villa with Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins will probably get 3 or 4 goal scoring opportunities a game and he might score 1. Whereas Rasmus Hojlund's lucky to get 1 goal scoring opportunity a game. And if you look at the kind of the odds of law, the possibility there, you have 1 opportunity. He's not going to score every single time, is he? He might score 1 in 3 of those chances. So it's really difficult for him. I do feel for him, but at the same time, he's come from Atalanta to Manchester United. He's got a massive pay rise. He's come to his dream club. I don't know. It doesn't make it okay, but I just think that this problem's been here for so long, and to eradicate or get rid of that problem, what do you need to do? Get rid of Bruno, get rid of Antony, get rid of Rashford. You need to probably get rid of all of your attacking players, because none of them work in that type of system. So it's a difficult one. And obviously I side with Rasmus Hojlund. I feel bad for him that, he doesn't get opportunities and it's not good. And it's why we've had such a poor season, probably, because we don't create enough chances. But whose job is that to do that? I mean, are these players not listening to Ten Hag? Is Ten Hag telling them to shoot? I don't think so personally, but obviously I don't know. That's just an opinion. You can let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And then we've got another story about Ten Hag coming in here, saying that Erik ten Hag is said to have torn into the Manchester United players in the dressing room after the game against Coventry. It says he was furious that United allowed another game that was under their control to get away from them. I mean, I completely endorse that. If I was Erik ten Hag, I would be absolutely furious after that. Furious. To let 3 goals slide within 20 minutes against a championship club in probably our biggest game of the season, realistically, because it was the only chance of us winning anything, is a disgrace. It is a disgrace. So I'm glad that he torn into them. I'm glad that he shouted at them. But the problem I have, not with that specifically, but with that method, is we know that these players don't take criticism. They're probably all, unhappy that he shouted at them. Like, they don't have the right mentality. You see Kevin De Bruyne coming off against for Man City, right? And he's upset about it. And there's never any issue past that, you know? It's like they can get over it because they're professionals and they trust. But these players think they're better than they are, and they don't have the right attitude and the mentality. And I think that it's just a recurring cycle, isn't it? So then you've got another story as well from James Ducker, which I wanted to talk about from the Telegraph. And it says Erik ten Hag is effectively now on trial for the next month as Manchester United's new technical director, Jason Wilcox, conducts an audit of the manager's credentials and the dressing room relations before the club make a final decision on Ten Hag's future. I mean, being quite honest, if they're looking at it from that perspective, I don't see how Erik ten Hag stays in his job, because it's pretty clear to see that, I don't know. I think it's very difficult for him, isn't it? If you've got somebody else coming in looking at the situation from, like, if we only see the football matches and the football matches are poor, but God knows what's going on the training ground and God knows what the mood's like in the dressing room. We're always told that, everyone's happy and the mood's really good, but I don't think it is personally. And that's not Erik ten Hag's fault. The players have done this to countless managers. I still point the finger at the players, but if you're Jason Wilcox coming in to monitor the situation, he'll probably say the easiest solution here is to get rid of Erik ten Hag, bring in a new manager, and give all these players another chance. That's the cheapest solution. And effectively, we're not in a position like, obviously, if Sheikh Jassim had bought the club, say, just hypothetically, cleared the debt, had the money to be able to clear all the players we needed, then they might have, like, do you know what I mean? It's a different situation. We've got a guy who's come in who's invested, I think, 25% of the club, and he's not going to have 100% say on everything. We know he has say over the footballing, but he's not going to want to put the money in to say, all right, let's get rid of every player and keep the manager. Like, that just simply won't happen. So, yeah, it's a difficult one. And I just hope that, the next kind of 6 games in the Premier League, Erik ten Hag gets some momentum, and then we go into that FA Cup final with at least a chance of winning. But, it's very difficult for Erik ten Hag, I think. And, I'll say this, if there was a better manager out there available at the moment, I think Erik ten Hag would already be gone, to be honest. Not because I want that to happen, but there isn't. Like, the options available, Southgate, Potter, Thomas Tuchel, like, nobody wants any of those people. There's quite an interesting story this morning, though. Obviously, Ruben Amorin, the Sporting Lisbon manager, who's been heavily linked to Liverpool. Apparently, he is in talks with West Ham. He's been in London over the weekend, negotiating with West Ham about taking over from David Moyes. So, I don't know, is there a world where Manchester United look at him? Like, why are we not looking at him? I don't know. It's strange, but I still think that Erik ten Hag is better than Potter, Southgate, Tuchel, and Ruben Amorin, in my opinion. And I think Roberto De Zerbi is an interesting name. I think it's, it could work, but to pay Brighton 12 million, 10 million compensation to Erik ten Hag, you're paying nearly 25 million to remove Erik ten Hag and bring in De Zerbi, who's never won a trophy in his life. And yes, he plays attractive football at times for Brighton, but do you really think that this Manchester United squad can play that style of football? No. Erik ten Hag played attractive football at Ajax. He's come here and been unable to play that style of football. So it's easy to say, oh, well, he's done well at Brighton. It's not Brighton. We're Manchester United. The players aren't willing to adapt. They think they're better than they are. They don't follow instructions. They let 3-0 lead slide against a championship level team. Like, yeah, there isn't just a magic person who's going to come in and turn these players into a completely different side, because we've been like this for 10 years. Mourinho failed, Van Gaal failed, Moyes failed, Rangnick failed, Oli failed, and Erik ten Hag's kind of going in the same direction. So we've got to point the finger in the right place. But you can let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm going to wrap the video up here. Thank you so much for watching the show today. If you have enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a lovely day, everyone, and I'll speak to you all a bit later.